Yeah,
100%. Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Oh
Well,
yeah.
you've had quite a life, and I'm looking forward to getting into your book and your work. So thank you for taking a
Hmm.
minute out today. I appreciate it.
Oh, no problem. Yep.
So let's begin with 4 years ago, we were trying to figure out this pandemic. How are we going to
Hmm.
get through it? How it's going to affect us? How did you ultimately get through the pandemic? And how did it change the way that you live your life now?
Well, as far as the pandemic, I worked during the pandemic. Um, I retired in 2017, and I went back to work, and I believe it was 2019. Then the pandemic was what, 2020, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. I was working as a maintenance man in a housing complex, and that was pretty stressful and kind of hard to navigate because you had a lot of people that worked, that lived up in the building, and even some people that worked in the building that didn't even want to use precautionary measures during
Yeah.
COVID. So then after COVID, uh, just here, life's rough though, man. After COVID, it's different. Life is totally different. Everything's different in life. Yeah,
Yeah. It certainly is.
everything.
Yeah, everything changed. So let's get to the heart and soul right now of what you do on a daily basis. And even before you retired, if I
Uh
put
huh.
you in front of a bunch of third grade students at career day and one of the
Uh huh.
kids wanted to know what you did and said, "Hey, what do you
Hmm.
do for a living?" How do you answer them?
Uh, right now or previously?
Probably both, just so we can have context.
Uh, well, I was a New York State Correction Officer for 28 years. I worked in the Department of Corrections. I worked at, let's see, I worked at Sing Sing Correctional Facility, Sullivan Correctional Facility, Cayuga Correctional Facility, Southport Correctional Facility, and Elmira, ultimately, where I stayed and retired at. And I
Yeah.
did that job for 28 years. So,
Okay.
yep.
So you're a writer now.
Uh, no, I can't say I'm a writer. I wrote a book, though. I want to tell my story about my career as a correction officer.
Okay.
So I wrote a book, So I wouldn't call myself actually well, I guess I'm a writer. I wrote a book.
Yeah, right. No, that's what I would think so. So when you were in the third grade, what did you want to be when you grew up? What was your dream?
Uh, Not a correction officer,
Right.
that's for sure.
Yeah.
That was never the back of my mind. Growing up, I grew up in the '70s.
Yeah.
So back in the '70s, growing up, everybody wanted to either be uh, a professional football player, basketball player. But then, during my high school years, I um, started thinking about law enforcement. I really wanted to be a state trooper, but I never scored high enough on the test to, pass the qualifications to get in. So settled for being a correction officer.
So what was it? Talk to me a little bit about your book. Give me kind of a flavor so people out there can pick up the copy. Talk to me
Uh-huh.
about your experiences and just kind of what you lived through.
Well, I went in the Department of Corrections in 1988, and like I said, I retired in 2017. And I worked at five different jails. Each of them were different. You know, the last jail I worked at was Elmira, where I spent most of my time, and it was it was rough. It was prison. Prison is already a rough place to work. It's stressful and dangerous. And my fellow employees seem to want to make it a little more dangerous for me by harassing me and trying to stress me out. So, but I went through a lot. I tried to come into the department. Now, when I first came into the department, I planned on moving up in the department. I wanted to go from correction officer to sergeant to lieutenant, and move up in the department. but I was ultimately I was unable to do that after having to file charges uh, of discrimination against my fellow employees who were harassing me and discriminating against me. Where I worked at Elmira, there was only 5 African Americans out of 495 officers.
Wow.
And at one time, it was less than that. There was only three,
Wow.
one on each shift. And I don't know, some guys just made it rough. You had good guys and you had bad guys, but I I would say the union is one of the biggest problems because when the bad guys do something, the union protects them instead of getting rid of them. So if the problems just persist, and then when you go to complain, they always want to shoot the messenger. You know, the messenger's always wrong. You
Yeah.
know, when all I want to do is just go to work, just like everybody else, earn a paycheck, and come home safely,
Yeah.
just like everybody else. But it didn't end up like that. I was harassed for years, and luckily I had a good attorney. My attorney, by the name of Mark Garber, and he stuck with me for 11 years, and we became. It was like lawyer client, and then from lawyer client to friends, and then from friends. That's like my brother now. We're close. So I'm glad I had him in my life and in my corner. Yep.
So who so who's been kind of a hero or an inspiration for you in your life?
Oh man, I got a I got a lot of heroes. My dad was my biggest hero. Because he taught me good work ethics. But then I had all my uncles in my life too that all worked hard and all of them had something to contribute. To my growing up and to who I was and how I was molded. So I got a lot of you know but famous people, let's see, Ernie Davis. He was one of the first African American. He was the first African American Heisman Trophy winner. Came from Elmira, New York. He's one of my heroes.
Yeah.
I'd say another guy that I looked up to was Joe Madison.
Yeah.
He was on Sirius XM. I used
Yeah.
to like to hear him speak because he told the truth, and he always tried to put the truth out there,
Yeah.
like Martin Luther King and all of that, and anybody that's doing anything that's righteous,
Yeah.
you know.
Yeah.
Uh,
Yeah. So let me ask you this. What helped you maintain through all those years of getting harassed and seeing a really harsh environment that most people don't live through? What was
mhm.
the way that you maintained for all of those decades?
um, well, my wife, that's number one.
Yeah.
She was in my corner. So I had my wife, church family, friends, that would inspire me. They would tell me I was doing the right thing, keep my head up, you know, and God Almighty, because every day I went in, it was like going into the lion's den every day, you know. Every day they're trying to set me up with some new felonious lie or manipulating the system to put me in front of an arbitration judge to fight for my job. It was always something. So, and I went through that for a long time.
So what was one of the best success stories that you saw while you were in there? Whether it was you overcoming what you were going through or an inmate or a colleague, what was one of the most inspiring things that you saw while you were working as a corrections officer?
Mm, inspiring things. Not very many inspiring things in prison.
Yeah.
I can say uh, not not inspiring, but righteous, and seeing justice being served is when you see an inmate that's falsely accused and he's free. and I've seen that. That's inspiring. For justice in the
Yeah.
system. When you see a guy that served time for something he didn't do, and he's fought so many years to get free, and he's finally free, that was good to see.
So seeing all of this unfold for all of these years, do you have hope for humanity? Do you have you lost any hope? Have you gained hope? Where's your level of hope?
Oh no, I haven't lost hope in humanity. Just like people, the people that were harassing me, I would never stoop that low. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And there's a lot of good people in the world. You just got idiots too that you have to deal with. But I just hope the system can change. In some way, some shape or form, change the system where it works better for everybody, not just for the majority, you know. But I have no ill feelings or nothing like that. I love the world.
So let me ask you this, with your book, are you hoping that things change, that you shed some light on things that need to be addressed? What I guess that's a part of it, but overall, what are you hoping that the public gets from your memoir, from your time and your recollection?
Um, I wrote the book hoping that the public could see what goes on in the prison system, because the prison system is like a bride with a veil on. Like that, I like to describe it like that, and you don't see what's going on. Until that veils are removed. And the prison system is the same way with the public. The public has no idea what goes on in prison. You either have to have been locked up in there as an inmate or work there to know the system and to see what goes on. So I wrote the book hoping the public would see and some people would ask for change.
Yeah. So at the end of the day, of all of these things that you've done and become in your life, what are you the proudest of?
Uh, Proudest of being a father, a husband, uh, man, and just being able to have a career that I retired from. Now I can relax. I got a retirement. That's one of the big things these days is getting a retirement in life, and
Yeah.
I was able to do that. I'm proud of that. Proud of the book I wrote. Trying to get the public to see what goes on in the system. Just proud.
So let's say you have a dream tonight and you run into that young version of you right before you take the job, the first hour that you're going to work as a corrections officer, and you could give that version of you a piece of advice based on this life you've led, the wisdom you've gained. What
Uh-huh.
advice would you give that young version of you?
Oh wow. Uh, Keep your head down. Uh, Always have integrity. See, that's the thing. The system is lacking integrity, and do the right thing. Uh, be honest and go for it. Uh,
Yes.
there's, I mean, giving somebody some advice to go into the Department of Corrections would be pretty difficult,
Yeah.
because there's a lot of things that are thrown at you. But one of the big things is integrity.
Yeah.
You know, without integrity, you're lost.
Yeah.
You're liable to do anything. You're gullible to anything. If you have integrity, you know where you're going. You know what's right from wrong.
Yeah. So, Curtis, everyone has a perception of you. Family,
Mhm.
friends, everybody you've worked for, everyone that reads your book, but you
Mhm.
run the show. What's your perception of you? Who do you think you are?
Uh, I'm a I'm a pretty nice guy.
Yeah.
Nobody's ever asked me that question. How do you perceive yourself? I'm a pretty nice guy. I could be tough sometimes. uh, I like uh, I like things to go in an orderly fashion. Um, I like uh, I like people to be honest with people. I like people to treat people fairly. I don't like to see people discriminate against other people. And so I would perceive myself as a righteous man that stands up for what's right. So and I think a lot of people see me as that. There's a lot of people that, that come to me that have not similar problems because nobody can have as many problems as I had in where I worked at,
Yeah.
in the prison system. You got a lot of knuckleheads, you know. They might work for a company that has 40 or 50 people, but they had problems. But they would come to me for advice. So I, I think I'm perceived pretty well.
Yeah, absolutely. So 25 Years of Hell is the book. If anyone wants to pick up a copy, they want to reach out to you, learn more about your history in the system, what's the best way to do that?
Uh, you could buy the book on Amazon and Barnes and Noble. 25 Years of Hell. And I have a author's portal on there. If you want to get to know me, follow me, you find me on Amazon.
Okay. Mr. Brown, thank you, sir. Thank you for your story. Thank you for your time. Keep making the world a better place, man.
Oh, thank you. This was great. I
Yes, sir.
appreciate it. You have a great day and have a nice weekend.
You too, man. Thank you. I appreciate it.